Did you know that the Dredge is not the physical stuff that you can see on its body, but the black fog from where everything spawns? The Dredge replaces his physical parts with anything he finds in the world that resembles a human, as you can read on his cosmetic descriptions. However, the more you read and pay attention to the Dredge, the more disturbing he becomes. According to the lore, the Dredge's default appearance is a collection of all the bodies from the people of the Garden of Joy that disappeared, forming a mass of bones and flesh that try to resemble a human head and limbs. Just in his default torso, there are 9 victims confirmed. In his grave amalgamation cosmetic, we can also see different arms that belong to different people by the differences in the arm's width and skin tone. But things get worse and worse. According to the doll cosmetic, the Dredge's default appearance of flesh from the Garden of Joy people completely decayed, becoming unusable. And so he picked up the first things that resembled a human in that garden: porcelain dolls. Porcelain dolls are often related to children and babies, and we know for a fact that in the Garden of Joy, entire families came and brought their own dolls with themselves, as we can confirm with the Dredge add-on called Broken Doll. This means that there were a lot of dolls in the Garden of Joy, which means that there were a lot of children and babies inside this religion. But where did they end up? Well, the sad truth is that those same children and babies suffered the same fate as the adults. It is possible that whenever someone broke the rules of the Garden of Joy, the entire family suffered the consequences, and you can hear their souls crying in the fireplace of the house. The thing is, their physical bodies exist, and the Dredge took some of them to create his physical body. If you take a look at his left limb, you can see a baby arm protruding from that mass. The twins' concept of conjoined siblings, one living like a parasite from the other, is something really creepy. However, this design choice was not the first idea Behavior had with this concept of 2 killers in one. According to an interview to the game directors, the twins had a concept where she was a pregnant woman with her unborn baby as the secondary killer. However, you can imagine how many moral problems this game would have had if they allowed you to play and kick a character like this. Despite that, the twins is still an extremely creepy design, more so by the reality of Victor. According to their lore, Victor died very early, where they first captured by the Black Veil, that cult that knows about the entity's existence. But as we see in the game, Victor is still moving and still alive, right? Well, not exactly. What we have in the game is a fake Victor that the entity created only to manipulate Charlotte into sacrificing survivors for him. Victor never had 3 eyes, and in fact, he could not separate from Charlotte to begin with. This fake illusion of Victor, however, is everything that Charlotte has, so she accepted it as her new sibling to protect. Everything inside the entity's realm is her creation. Everything that you can see and touch, except the killers and survivors themselves, are only recreations from the memory of those she captures. This explains why all the structures in Dead by Daylight, although familiar, look so off, and this example is best shown in the Temple of Purgation's description, where it says that the temple was taken straight from the plague's memory. However, something very interesting is that in each of these maps, there will always be a basement that is extremely creepy, where you can hear creepy rattling sounds and screams, and see a red light penetrating through the walls. The basement is the heart of the entity and the map, and every single map begins from the basement upwards. This is the closest place someone can be to the entity. But this brings an interesting point of view to every single map. If all the maps are the entity, this means that the maps themselves are organic. And as we already know, anything organic can bleed. Enter Pyramid Head, the killer with the power to create trails of torment around the map, no matter where he stabs his sword. Does this mean that Pyramid Head is carrying the entity in order to create these trails? Are we alone in the entity's realm? That's a question that nobody can truly answer. We do have animals in some maps, like the vultures in Dead Dog Saloon or the mouses in Larry's Memorial Institute, but besides that, we don't have anything else. However, this was not always the case. Back in the days, when the game was still in its infancy, there were other creatures in the maps that for some reason were removed. If you came close to the walls in the realms, you could hear the hellish screams of some creatures beyond the walls, and they continued constantly, as if something serious was going on with only the walls protecting us from those creatures. In fact, some people even said that you could see glimpses of black silhouettes beyond the walls, stalking the survivors from outside the map. However, for some reason, the screams in the walls were removed from the game, and now the only way to hear them is if you go to the basement, where you can hear the same screams that scared the veteran players of Dead by Daylight. We talked about the twins earlier, and how in their lore, they were captured by the Black Veil, that cult that knew about the existence of the entity. But what you didn't know is that some of the offerings we have in Dead by Daylight were actually made by them in real life. In the lore of the twins, the Black Veil ordered them to snap the neck of a small grey bird. This bird is possibly the Shrike, and the skull of its bird is used in the sacrifice offerings. Another offering that they were asked to make is to bleed into a vase of roses, the same roses that will end up becoming a part of the Moonlight Bouquet offerings that were removed from the game. Finally, they were asked to sleep with a branch of damp oak under their pillows, the same oaks that are offerings for the hook spread in the game. But the last thing they were asked for is a careful examination of their heads. According to the lore, the priest took them both and said the words Memento Moris before taking out a shining blade. This means that in order to create the Memento Mori offerings, they require an alive human. And this means that every single Memento Mori offering we have in the game was once a human that was experimented on by the Black Veil. And just as a fun fact, you can see a physical Memento Mori offering in the Oni's cosmetic called Ice Cold Legacy. A lot of you already know Freddy and the type of love he is looking for, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can take a look at the Black Box Iridescent add-on. According to the add-on description, it's just filled with photographs. So why is this add-on an iridescent one? What types of pictures are inside? I have no idea. What I would also like to know is why Freddy Krueger has a bed and a small hole in the wall with candles under a preschool. Well, another creepy fact is based on his old Forever Freddy add-ons. Back before his rework, the outdoor rope, the jump rope, and the swing chains were add-ons that reduced the speed at which you repair generators or healed, slowing it down. All of these add-ons had something in common. All of these items you will find in most preschools, and all of them can be used to tie down someone. I will let your imagination go wild. The Huntress was a ruthless hunter that eliminated every single prey that ventured inside the forest, anyone but the little girls. Instead, she had a sweet spot for them, and she had the maternal urge to take care of them. So after eliminating their family in front of their eyes, she tied a rope on their neck like a leash on a dog and took them to her house, where she tied them to the walls and left them with toys and colorful items to play with. However, every single girl ended up perishing due to cold, sickness, or starvation, possibly because they didn't want to eat the food that the hunters brought to them. The interesting thing about this is that you can find the same room where the huntress would tie the little girls in the mother's dwelling map. So the next time you play in this map and you walk close by, remember how many lives were taken on this exact same spot. There are a lot of audio files in Dead by Daylight, like every single voice, music, all ambiental sounds, powers, But in those same audio files, there are very creepy songs that you possibly never heard. In game, a lot of noises and sounds happen at the same time, making it impossible to appreciate the sounds individually unless you are completely silent. Between the screams, the terror radius, or the breathing of these characters, these audio files cannot be appreciated. This is the very first audio file. Can you guess when this music plays in game? This music actually plays when you are on tier 3 effect of the madness that the doctor inflicts. However, due to the amount of different noises and screams in game, it cannot be heard very well. If you answered correctly, congratulations! Now I will play 2 audio files that I have no idea where you can hear them. If any of you knows, please let me know in the comment section and I will make an update in a future video providing credits. Take a listen. What do you think? These files have no name attached to them, so it is impossible to know exactly where they come from. Finally, I will play the last audio file and I want you to tell me what killer it belongs to. Take a listen. This hellish sound is part of the Oni's audio files. Did you get it right? And hey, if you like this type of content and you want to see more weird facts, check out my Wraith theory video and I promise you that you won't be disappointed. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.